What is going on, Pats Nation? It's Patriots Global back here with another video, and in this one, we're going to be talking about how Patriots fullback Danny Vitale has opted out for the 2020 NFL season. And hey, while you guys are at it, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure you do it right now. It's completely free, costs you nothing, and you get all of your New England Patriots news. But yes, you are hearing that right. Danny Vitale has opted out of the 2020 season because of this whole pandemic that is continuing to go around throughout the world, but also the NFL, because if you've been following the NFL throughout this whole pandemic, things have been crazy. Things have been spiraling. There have been really great moments. There have been some very concerning moments. Things have been going back and forth between the NFL and the NFLPA. You know, we were going to have a full preseason. Then there was no preseason. Then it was 2 games. Now there's officially no preseason at all. Really just the NFL doing their job to try to have a football season in the midst of having this whole pandemic. Now, part of this is that NFL players do have the choice to play this upcoming season or not play this upcoming season. Players who don't want to play in this upcoming season can opt out, but they have to do it by a certain amount of time. I believe they have about a week to be able to do so. It's not like they can opt out a week before the regular season starts. Now, what I do want to say real quick is that there was another Patriots player that actually did also opt out, but it's not a real notable one. Najee Torin is another guy that opted out, and we are hearing rumors about Marcus Cannon being a guy who could potentially do so also, but those are just rumors as of right now. Nothing is confirmed. Now, interestingly enough here, for a guy like Danny Vitale, for Najee Torin, if they continue to want to bring him back, of course, their contracts do just get pushed into the following year. So the Patriots had originally signed Danny Vitale this offseason on a very limited 1-year deal. It wasn't worth anything too big, just kind of coming from the factor of he wasn't a big-name player. So the Patriots will still technically have him under contract for next season, but the great thing about this is that the Patriots actually do not have to worry about paying the players the money that they were expected to make for this season. So the money that Danny Vitale was expected to make, the Patriots actually get back to their cap. So the Patriots were sitting at about $7.7 million in available cap, but now after Danny Vitale opted out, they sit at about $7.8 in available cap. Of course, the other part about this is the fact that the Patriots will also get an open roster spot. If players do decide to opt out, obviously that doesn't go against the 80-man roster for the offseason, and of course the potential 53-man roster for the start of the regular season, which means the Patriots are able to bring back 2 guys. They already filled one of those spots with Will Hastings, the UDFA, who they picked up after the 2020 draft, but that other spot has not been filled yet. As for the whole Najee Torin opting out, really doesn't affect the Patriots. I honestly didn't even think he was going to end up making the roster. He was essentially just fighting for a backup spot, but you kind of look at what the Patriots also have behind the guards that they currently have, and they have Yoda Froholt, Jermaine Illuminor, Onwenu, Woodard, so definitely not concerned there. But obviously for fullback, this does raise some questions. The Patriots are not trying to relapse on what they did in the 2019 season, where they ended up having to have a Landon Roberts, their linebacker, coming in at that fullback position. The Patriots are heavily relying on that fullback position. They're a team, one of the only teams essentially in the NFL anymore, that really loves to utilize a fullback, and it's what their offense is truly built around. With James Devlin deciding to retire this offseason, obviously that position came down to really either Danny Vitale or Jakob Johnson. Now, you do have some other guys who could potentially get that spot. You have Jake Burt, UDFA tight end. You have 3rd-round draft selection tight end in Dalton Keene. But I think essentially what it was going to come down to when you look at the fullbacks, it was either going to be Danny Vitale or Jakob Johnson taking over that starting fullback role. So for Danny Vitale, who was expected to make about $1.3 million with the Patriots on that one-year deal that they signed him to this offseason, he will now just be making about $150,000. Obviously, I think here for Danny Vitale, it was a bit of a shock just because you don't know what players are thinking about opting out or not opting out. But when you look at the factors, it doesn't surprise me too much. I mean, he does have a wife. He has kids. He is the father of a newborn baby. It makes a lot of sense, but at the same time, it obviously is a situation that kind of sucks because of just how much I think the Patriots were looking to potentially use Danny Vitale, with just how much Danny Vitale was really just throwing himself within the Patriots playbook all offseason when they had virtual meetings. There was at one point he had a meeting, or not a meeting, a press conference rather, with the media where he was asking a lot of questions. And it just seemed like he was somebody that really could have made an impact for the Patriots in the 2020 season. The thing about Vitale that is different than, I would say, all of the other potential fullbacks that could earn the spot now that Vitale is gone is, one, experience. You know, Vitale has been around the league for way longer than any of these other guys. Longer than the UDFAs, longer than Dalton Keene, longer than Jakob Johnson. But he's also a guy that, you've heard me say it many times, is a guy that really would bring along a Kyle Juszczyk type of presence for the New England Patriots at that fullback position, which I think could have just been extremely beneficial to the New England Patriots. Now, we haven't seen too much of Jakob Johnson to be able to for surely say this, but I do think Jakob Johnson, from what we've seen, is a bit better when it comes to a blocking fullback. But what I do think is that Danny Vitale would have given the Patriots, when he's on the field, an extra option in the passing game. Danny Vitale is a threat in the passing game. He showed the ability to really be a threat in the passing game, and I just don't think that the New England Patriots are going to get that with Jakob Johnson. Of course, you also have some concern with Jakob Johnson, one, because you haven't seen him be able to play too much. You know, they did have him throughout training camp this past year. They saw him a few games in the regular season and the preseason, so they saw a good amount, but they didn't really get to see him full go in the regular season against really the top-tier talent in the NFL, true starting defensive linemen. And of course, he only played a couple of games before he got injured, and he was out the entire season. So the question is he going to be a guy that you can rely on? Is he going to be a guy that you don't have to worry about being injury prone, or is he going to be someone that you go, we might have to keep two fullbacks because we don't know if injuries are going to plague this guy? Now, while fullback, of course, isn't one of the most important positions in football, it definitely still is an important aspect, especially to a team like especially to a team like the Patriots, coached by Bill Belichick. And I'll be very curious to see what they do from here on out. Now, I do think that as long as he stays healthy and he shows promise, that Jakob Johnson does take that starting role. But do they decide to sign another fullback, or are they just comfortable already with what they have? But that is going to be it for today's video. What are your guys' thoughts on Najee Torin and, of course, Danny Vitale opting out of the 2020 season due to the pandemic? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. And, of course, let me know, is there anybody else, Patriots player-wise, that you are expecting or you think that will opt out for the 2020 season? I don't think that these will be the only guys opting out. I think that some players are still thinking about it, but hopefully, and I'm really hoping, that the Patriots do not lose anybody significant. What are you guys thinking, though? Let me know what you're feeling in the comments section below. Remember to give this video a big thumbs up, and tell all your friends about this video. You know, share this video with everybody you can possibly know so that we can get a discussion going, so that we can grow the Patriots global family. And remember, consider subscribing for all of your New England Patriots news. Now, like always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you in my next video.